Okay, we're back again. Bayloric TV boxing channel. This time we are talking about Smith versus Fielding. Callum Smith and Rocky Fielding in a Liverpool derby, a local rivalry, a big fight, and I think it's going to be a cracking night in Liverpool. And if you're a fan of boxing and you're from Liverpool, then it's definitely a fight that I think the local fans are going to enjoy. So let's get into it. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I'm back again. This time, just finished doing Marisvac versus Povetkin, the post-fight video. Check that out. It'll be in one of the cards or flash up throughout this video. So now we're on about Rocky Fielding versus Callum Smith. Now, when this fight was announced at first, I thought to myself, before it was announced, I thought, based on what Rocky Fielding did to Brian Vera, would Callum Smith and Eddie Hearn be like wanting to make that fight happen? I didn't think the fight would happen. Clearly, it has happened. But having said that, Joshua versus Dillian Whyte is happening as well. So it's obviously something is happening. I don't know whether it's because the other super fight between Brook versus Khan hasn't been made, and the pressures of Al Heyman and PBC Boxing and a Golden Boy and everybody else doing what they do. Sky Sports now feel the need that they have to put their fighters on and getting them fighting against one another. I don't know if that's the plan. Budgetary plans, fans revolting at the fact that the quality of boxing on Sky hasn't been the greatest at times. There have been quite a few shows that have been slung together on a Saturday night where there have been what I call 90-10 fights. And again, anybody who knows me and has known me in the past, I've been one of the guys who put his hand up and said, Joe Gallagher fighters, a lot of their fights have been in 90-10 fights. I want to see what happens when these fighters in a 50-50 fight. Let's see how good a trainer he is then. In the past, I've kind of like Gallagher's gone missing when the big fights are when his fighter is in a situation where they're not the favorite. But to be fair, Gallagher, I saw the fight with Quigg versus Martinez, and to be fair, got to give a man where it's due. He did the business. So I'm going to keep watching Mr. Gallagher in the future. It's not I hate Joe Gallagher, but it's just that I like to watch trainers, like to see what they say in the corner. I'd like to see not what they say up at the press conferences. I don't want to hear what they're doing, talking about before a fight. I'm interested to hear what happens, see what they do in the corner. That's really what a trainer does, to see their game plan implemented in a fight. So that's going to be key for Callum Smith and Rocky Fielding. So what are we looking at here? I compare Rocky Fielding and Callum Smith very much to Frampton versus Quigg for one reason, and this is the one reason, that both guys are quite prominent about what they do. If you look at Quigg and you look at Frampton, Quigg very much body attacks, very good, very much body puncher. Frampton more of a head puncher. You look at now Smith known primarily left hook to the body, or his body shots. That's the shot for him. That's the shot for Callum Smith, his body shots. And Rocky Fielding, more of a head puncher. So, at the end of the day, what does this fight tell us? This fight tells us who is the best super middleweight in Britain? Not really. It tells us who the British champion is going to be. You see, a while back, there was a time in boxing where a guy had to earn his stripes before you started calling him the best prospect or the best this or the best that. Today, promoters, particular promoters, big promoters, can just say, this guy is the best thing since sliced bread, and he hasn't fought nobody of note, yet he is the best, you know, fighter, or one of the best fighters in the world. So I'm very dubious when a promoter starts making comments and saying things about a fighter, because look, a promoter's role is to promote a fighter. That's his job, to promote a fighter. So of course, you know, your promoter is going to say, he's the best prospect. We've got the best prospect in world boxing. I don't know what makes Callum Smith the best boxer, best prospect in world boxing. World boxing's got a lot of boxers in it, okay? And the best prospect in world boxing, that's taking it, that's taking it to quite an extreme when the best guy you fought on your resume is Robrase. You know, I'm just putting it out there. So I just look at this fight as a British title fight, and the thing that makes it special, really and truly, is because it's two guys, local derby in Liverpool. Let's put things as they are. Callum Smith being ranked number 2 in the world by the WBC, and I had a discussion with WBC about this. Him ranked number 2 at the WBC, he's fought nobody in the top 10, yet he's ranked number 2 by the WBC. The same thing with Anthony Joshua. It's not just a Callum Smith dig here. You know, this ranking system, it's not good. I think it needs to be revised. You've got to fight at least somebody in the top 10 at least to get a ranking. But it's not about the ranking. It's about if you've got a powerful promoter that can put some money on the table, if you've got a good relationship, you're in bed with that promoter. That's what it seems like. I had a conversation with WBC about this, and they said, no, it's not like that. But I can't see any other way to it. So those are my thoughts about that. The other thing is the Callum Smith. I've got to talk about Callum Smith. He's very much highly favoured by Sky, you know, and you know, the brothers there with Liam Smith now winning the world title on Box Nation with Frank Warren, and you know, Paul Smith commentating or expert pundit with Sky Sports. It's all a well-known fact that Paul Smith and Carl Froch are good friends. Now, I don't know if that's a great thing to have, that sort of buddy thing, especially, you know, I can't see Paul Smith going against his brother to say, I can see Rocky Finn win this fight. I can't see it. You wouldn't go, unless you had a beef with your brother, you're going to say, well, you know, Paul Smith, what are your thoughts? Oh, yeah, you know, Fielding's, you know, a good fighter, but my brother would win this fight. You know, I can't see him being, I don't see how you cannot be biased. You're going to be biased because you're bro, you know? So, and then you've got Carl Froch will be right behind that as well. So, don't know. Smith has got a situation there where he's very, Rocky Fielding's up against it. He's definitely up against it. He's up against it because he's not the most charismatic of guys, but charisma and personality have got nothing to do with the fact that whether you can fight or not. Let's get that straight. And his last fight against Brian Vera was a good performance. Yes, Brian Vera was shot, but you still have to put on the performance, and he blew Brian Vera out of there. Callum Smith's performance against Robrase was good. I was impressed the way, I wanted to know how hard a puncher Smith was, and he did show something that George Groves didn't do. He dropped Robrase, the teeth-tough Robrase, with a good body shot. But significantly, Robrase was able to get up and fight on for 12 rounds, fight on for the rest of the fight. So that's what we know there. Is Callum Smith a puncher at the highest level? Don't know. Same with Rocky Fielding. He blew away Brian Vera, but there are other guys in his career that he hasn't knocked out or stopped. So we don't know whether this fight is, you don't know, you know, in terms of punch power, how good each guy is. We do know Smith will go to the body. We do know Fielding will go to the head. You've also got the dynamics of the two trainers. You've got Oliver Harrison and you've got Joe Gallagher with a bit of back and forth, you know, how Oliver Harrison talking about how Joe Gallagher's fighters were given to him. Joe Gallagher turning around and saying, "Well, you had an Olympic champion in your hands, which is Amir Khan, and what did you do with him?" So you've got all that mixed into it as well. So it's going to be a very tasty fight. So you've got that and all the dynamics with Sky and the promotions. Now, Rocky Fielding, let's get on to this. How do I see the fight going? Now, this fight is, how much more do we learn about these guys? It's like, well, okay, if Smith beats Fielding, who is he beating? What's he beating? Because we can't really judge and say, well, Fielding beat Brian Vera, but Brian Vera was shot and past it. And, well, Callum Smith beat Rebrasse, but Rebrasse got beat by George Groves, and George Groves got beat by Badu Jack, and got knocked out by Carl Froch. And, it's kind of like you're not quite sure where they are. They have to fight somebody else to kind of see where they are. Callum Smith, to me, is what I call an orthodox boxer. Orthodox, meaning he doesn't do anything spectacular. He's not got blindingly fast hands. He's not got. I tell you who Callum Smith sort of reminds me of in a funny way. Richie Woodhall, but he doesn't jump up as much as Richie Woodhall. But he's still very orthodox, very very textbook. That's the word, not orthodox. Textbook. He's a textbook boxer, and he doesn't do anything dynamic. Yes, he's got the body punch, and yes, he seems to have a wicked body punch. Again, we don't know what it's like at the highest level. He doesn't have a. He doesn't do anything spectacular. He's got an okay jab, got okay punches. Seems to have an okay engine, but we don't know because Brasse was just a tough guy that came forward, but nothing else. So I don't see Callum Smith being explosive. He's not an explosive guy. If you talk about explosiveness, I probably look more at Rocky Fielding being the more explosive of the two guys. So out of the punch power, I'd probably put a Rocky Fielding. In terms of chin, I don't know who's got a better chin because, again, I guess we've never seen Callum Smith being in the ring with a guy who can actually punch. So I don't know what Callum Smith's chin's like. If Callum Smith's chin is good and he can keep Rocky Fielding on the end of that jab, because he's what, 6'3" as a super middleweight, is 6'3". I mean, the guy should be fighting a light heavyweight, to be honest, but he's put himself down to super middle, so he's doing that. If he can keep Fielding off by the jab and keep Fielding's head going back, he's got the height and reach advantage to give Rocky Fielding a lot of problems. Of course, when you start going to dig to the body, you leave yourself exposed. So, Smith is going to have to be careful when he's going to land body shots. That's what he does. The other thing I notice about Smith is, when his back is against the ropes, he doesn't. From what I've seen, he didn't look too comfortable. His back against the ropes. He didn't have to fight off the ropes, and so then I have to start looking at characters between the two guys and fighters. If you look at Rocky Fielding's career, he's had a bit of a struggle, Rocky Fielding, because he's been the guy that's not been promoted as much. When I say promoted, I mean he's not the guy that is in the limelight. He's not the guy that has been called the best prospect in the world or the best prospect in Britain or the best prospect. He's not had all that stuff. He's not had the razzmatazz of having Paul Smith as his brother, and he hasn't had that Sky sort of like, I won't call it mollycoddling. He hasn't had that. He's had the whole thing of making weight and struggling to make weight and all that sort of stuff, and had fights where he's not looked great but still won. So he's had difficult fights that he's come through and won, and that's kind of good in terms of character for Rocky Fielding, character building. On the flip side, it seems to me that Callum Smith seems to have it all his own way. I remember listening to the fight, going back and listening to the commentary with Nick Halling, and listening to his atrocious commentary. At one point he was saying, "Oh, what's this? We've never seen Callum Smith get hit back in his career. He's getting hit back tonight." I think to myself, this is a boxing bout, right? And Callum Smith has just moved up in class to fight Rebrasse. So of course Rabrasi is going to be throwing punches, he's going to hit him back because he's moved up in class. I didn't think he looked that impressive against Rabrasi. What I would like to see is Rocky Fielding had fought Rabrasi to see how those two would have looked and how Callum Smith would have fought Brian Vera. That would have been a bit more interesting to see now. We haven't got that. We've got this fight now. So Callum Smith seems to be a guy that seems to have had it all his way in his career so far. You know, winning most of the round, most fight rounds. He's winning. You know, he's dropping guys with body shots. He's having things most his way. Rocky Fielding, on the other hand, hasn't quite had things his own way. He's been kind of dark horse, pushed to one corner. Don't know. So it's a real pick 'em fight. But when you go pick 'em fights, you see, it goes down to this for me. If Rocky Fielding can't get Callum Smith out of there, can he outbox Callum Smith? Can he outbox Callum Smith? See, if he can't hurt Callum Smith, if he can't make Callum Smith respect him in the first, like, couple of minutes of the fight and make him think, you know what? If you're going to try and dig a body shot to me, you're going to have to take something in return. You're going to have. So I hope Oliver Harrison has put into Rocky Fielding's mindset that that's Callum Smith's honey punch to the body. I hope that Oliver Harrison says, look, we don't want that guy going to the body. We don't let that guy land in his body shots. You've got to let off your shots first. You've got to get out there and you've got to land your shots first. You've got to be first to the punch. If it's a boxing match, I'm going to go with Callum Smith. If Rocky Fielding allows Callum Smith to get into a groove, getting behind the jab, letting his punches go, landing good body shots, then I can see Smith landing on Fielding and dropping Fielding to the body. But if Rocky Fielding can get Smith into a dogfight, then I'm going Rocky Fielding. So dogfight, I'm going Rocky Fielding. Boxing, I'm going to go with Callum Smith. And the other thing, mentality, big fight mentality. There's been some whispers that Rocky Fielding might not be mentally, what's the word? You know, there's some fighters who've got the tools, but on the night don't show up. Is Rocky Fielding one of these guys, come the big event, he doesn't show up? See, that's another thing. Big fight mentality. I think Callum Smith has got big fight mentality. I actually do. There's one thing I think about Callum Smith. I think he's got big fight mentality, and I think he's got that. I think because he's gained that as well, being around his brothers as well, seeing Paul Smith and all the others fight, and there's great confidence now, obviously, because Liam Smith as well. So there's some momentum there in the Smith brothers. So that all that stuff, I tell you, Callum Smith has got a lot of advantages coming into this fight. A lot of advantages. So, like I said, it's all down to tactics. Can Rocky Fielding put Callum Smith on the back foot and take him into a fight? You know, and what does Callum Smith do when he can't get his own way? Does he unravel? Can he box to another gear? Can he change? Can he adjust? Rocky Fielding, what happens when he lands his big punches and can't get Callum Smith out of there? What's Callum Smith's chin like? We've never seen Callum Smith in with a big puncher. How big a punch is Rocky Fielding? These questions need to be answered. Let's see what people are saying in the room. Ingram, ain't nobody hit harder than life. Yeah, that's true. I have to agree with you there, my friend. Good evening, Marky V. Yeah. You know, so to me, I just think, I don't know. It's a pick and fight, but I just think that for me, Smith is the better boxer. I think in the first round, we're going to find out what Rocky Fielding's about. If, like I said, if Fielding allows Smith to dictate the pace, I see Smith winning the fight. However, in the Rabrasi fight, I don't know if it was either round 9 or round 10. It looked that Rebrasse caught Smith with a couple of shots. I didn't wobble him, but it made him think a bit. And I'm just thinking to myself, you know, and Smith's got a huge frame for a super middleweight, and should he be boxing at light heavyweight? I don't know. What is his frame like, and how does he hold up in a tough fight? A tough fight with the guy who's coming for him, wants to take him out and hits hard. Don't know. I really don't know where to go with this one. I really don't. And previously, I've made predictions based on what I think a guy can do. But what I haven't considered in a lot of my boxing predictions, and I'm getting wise to it now, and I'm picking up on it, is not so much what the boxers does in the ring, or what I think the boxers does. It's what the trainers are doing with the boxers, you know, and the game plans. So, you know, I think it's going to be down. I think it's also be down to the trainers. What strategy? What's the game plan coming to this fight? I'm going to go with this. See, I can see Smith dropping Fielder in the body shot. I can see it. I can see it. But I also can see Rocky Fielding really hurting Callum Smith. See, I'm not into all the hype of, oh, Callum Smith is the best prospect in the world. So it's a tough one. I don't know. I don't know enough about Rocky Fielding mentally. I really don't know. I don't know. I can't pick a winner on this one. But if I had to go on pure boxing skill, Callum Smith. Pure boxing skill, Callum Smith. And if I'm gonna go for doggedness, heart, I'll go Rocky Fielding. I don't know. I don't know. Don't know. I don't know. I may have to come back and do a final prediction on this and go back and watch both guys again fight. But at the moment, I would say Callum Smith. If I really had to go at Callum Smith. But Callum Smith points, Fielding by knockout. Yeah, that's where I would go. For now. We'll leave it there for the moment and see if I... Oh, here we go. SKC says, Gallagher has so many fighters. I wonder how much time Callum gets with him. I think a bit. I think I think Callum gets a lot of time. I think Fielding 16-1 on to win on points. That is huge. I can't see Rocky Fielding outpointing Smith unless he drops him a few times and Smith goes in a defensive mode. That's the only thing I can see Rocky Fielding in the fight on points. Don't see it. I see Callum Smith on points because I think Callum Smith is the better boxer between the two. I think Rocky Fielding is the better puncher, but I don't know if the Brian Vera fight was a mirage. I don't know. And then I saw what Callum Smith did against Rebrasse, and even George Groves could drop Rebrasse, but I don't think George Groves is a big punch after 6 rounds anyway, so he starts to gas. I think George Groves should be fighting a light heavyweight, personal opinion, but again, don't know. I'm going to have to go back and watch Rocky Fielding again. and watch Callum Smith again. I would like Rocky Fielding to win, because he's the underdog and a dark horse and the man that people want to easily write off because, you know, I would like Rocky Fields to win, to be honest, just because of the whole underdog thing. But usually underdogs there's a reason why they're an underdog. But I've spoken about the other factors, what makes him an underdog as well. But yeah, I don't know. If I knew more about Callum Smith's chin, I could then say, yeah, then I would definitely go with Callum Smith. If Smith had a really good chin, I'd go Callum Smith. But because I don't know about Smith's chin, I can't answer this really with any sort of yeah, definitely. So those are my thoughts on that. Thank you for watching. I'm going to disappear. The next one up will be Frampton versus Quigg. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, leave your comments, and I'll get back to you. Thank you very much.